to it.
Yeah, and, on the Rudolph one, I watched that back, and that the corner, Minka Fitzpatrick just really read that well.
He did.
And so I'm not sure Rudolph could have done a lot more because he had to reach to get to him, and he couldn't get to him because he just read that was the play coming. Part of that is they'd run another screen where the cornerback was off, and I think that it makes a lot of sense in a lot of instances, but when you see that cornerback reading it that way, you might have to back off the play or ground it,
Mm-hmm.
But
I still think the quarterback is responsible for seeing what's happening and not throwing that pass.
Yep.
No matter how many people tell me I'm wrong, I'm going to think that's the way it should go. Anything else we want to say about Cousins right here?
Well, with Stefanski, I think that working the play action has been a big part of it, and they do it well. I mean, Cousins is good at working the play action game, and that works a lot better when the running game is going and defenses respect it. So I get that. The other thing, though, he incorporated a lot of two tight ends in the first drive when they scored a touchdown. There was only one of the 6 plays, I think it was a 6-play drive, that there weren't two tight ends in the game. And, you had David Morgan coming back off of injury, but yet it was Tyler Conklin and Kyle Rudolph that were on the field, and Conklin had a much bigger role. To me, one of the things that Cousins said that I was a little confused by or maybe disagreed with was he was asked about, with Diggs and Thielen getting doubled so much, do you have to look to get everybody involved? And his answer was basically that maybe you get other people involved, but really what you want to try to do is find the opportunities for Thielen and Diggs, even if they are doubled on those, or find the opportunities that they aren't doubled. I get that. Those are your biggest playmakers, but you also have to go to the open guy, which he did with Conklin. So I give him credit for that. But they're just, and Aldrick Robinson scored because he was open. So if he can do that and not focus so much on Diggs and Thielen, then I think that's going to help, because really the recipe has been, how do you stop the Vikings offense? Well, if you can really double Diggs and Thielen, Cousins has had a hard time coming up for an answer. And there are plenty of other answers. There's Dalvin Cook in the screen game. There's Kyle Rudolph up the seam. There's, maybe getting Aldrick Robinson deep once in a while. And, ironically, that probably means that Laquan Treadwell is going to start to take more and more of a back seat in this passing game.
I'm okay with that.
And it might have to be the way that it goes. At some point he's got to really step up instead of saying, this is my year, or it's just a matter of getting opportunities. Fact of the matter is he's been on the field quite a bit this year, and he's just not creating the separation to get those opportunities.
Nope. Hey, you can check out Hickey Freeman clothes, Alden shoes. You can check out events they do in the store and elsewhere at twillmn.com. That's Twill in the Edina Galleria. It is a Peter Millar crown shop. I'm wearing a Barber shirt right now. I love their Johnny O stuff. I've bought Stenstrom shirts out there. I bought golf shirts, dress shirts, casual shirts, long sleeve, short sleeve, underwear, shorts, socks, nice shoes. They just have so much. And the cool thing is they have a ton of stuff that will work great as a stocking stuffer this time of year. Check out Twill on Instagram, twillmn.com.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
One other offensive note before we start talking defense. As Jeff Diamond pointed out the other day on the show, I think David Morgan makes a difference to this offense. It's an offensive line that's struggling, and he gives them somebody who can beef up pass protection, who can drive block in the run game. He's a reliable guy. I think he helps their game plans a lot.
There's no doubt about it. And, they were struggling most often in the running game when David Morgan was out with his injury. So, I thought that they would be able to do better with Morgan in there. And that is another reason why it's not just that they were facing the Dolphins defense. There is some hope for Vikings fans that this can continue, or at least be a fairly productive running game rather than 60 to 80 yards a game. You should expect, hey, maybe we can get 120 to 150 a game between Cook and Murray. So, that balance helps. And then, the other thing that I think the statement that bothered me the most during the DiFilippo era here was, I think it was after the New England game when he was asked about, Dalvin Cook, he's finally healthy again. Can he be a 20-carry running back per game? And his quote was, well, 20 carries, that's a lot. Well, no, it's really not if you've got a guy who's effective. It's a lot for a backup who isn't getting a good average, or
a small guy. And Dalvin Cook isn't tall, but he's a strong guy.
Yeah, he's well put together.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's got the speed and he's got the power. And the fact of the matter is, in 2017, for the 3 games that Cook was healthy, he averaged 21 carries a game. So 20 carries is not a lot. If you're running an offense that is balanced, and I say balanced not meaning 50-50, but at least somewhere around that 60-40 area, not, the Vikings, I think, were like 68% pass. That's too high.
Especially when you're having trouble pass blocking.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about the defense here. They got 9 sacks on Sunday. And yes, again, part of that is the Dolphins and part of it's crowd noise. But it also did highlight the depth of talent they have on the defensive line. They have Danielle Hunter having a great year. Sheldon Richardson makes a big difference. And Stephen Weatherly has added a lot to this team this year.
Yeah, and now what we're seeing is Zimmer and his blitz packages, especially it helps when they get up in a game and they know that the opposition is going to have to pass. But he's really varied up his blitz packages. There's, the double A gap blitzes aren't as often as they used to be. And then, I think the next step in that was, okay, we're going to send Harrison Smith a lot. Well, then teams started counting on Harrison Smith coming. And Zimmer said this week, well, Anthony Barr is basically the 5th rusher that teams are always accounting for. Okay, well, Barr was still effective in that game, but they also brought Mackenzie Alexander off the edge. They brought Anthony Harris. And frankly, they had some really gambling blitzes in that Miami game toward the end where Zimmer sent 7 guys on one occasion, which is a lot for anyone, and it's not something that Zimmer has done a ton, and if he has, it's probably more saved for the rookie quarterback.
Right.
And Tannehill's been around enough that at this point you would think he would see those type of things coming and have the quick answer. But I really like the way that he's varied the blitzes where now you don't know who's coming. Before it was, okay, it's probably Barr or Harrison Smith. And now it's, okay, Mackenzie Alexander could be coming. It could be Anthony Harris coming. So, they certainly have the ability to get it done with the front 4, and they, that was kind of their game plan most of the game. But once they started to get that lead, then it was kind of this all-out assault that Zimmer sent after him.
It is interesting to see Anthony Barr playing well right now as he's coming up against contract negotiations.
Yep, and I think the Vikings probably realize that's one of the reasons. He's also getting healthy again.
He is healthy. That is part of it. Absolutely.
So, I'm just very curious to see, because if he had continued to play like he was earlier in the season for the rest of this season, then I think it's a really easy decision that the Vikings have. Hey, nice knowing you. We're just not going to pay you the amount of money that you're going to feel like you deserve or potentially get on the open market. Now, if he's playing like he has been the past 2 weeks, maybe he is worth that money. But the great question that they're going to have to answer is that what he's going to be from here on out? Or if he gets a big contract and has the stability of a 4 or 5 year deal, does he go back to Anthony Barr, the guy that at one point Mike Zimmer said has a tendency to coast?
Right. And so you're probably going to have to give money to – you're probably going to have to give Thielen a raise.
Yep.
And then you probably have to decide between Anthony Barr and Sheldon Richardson.
Yep.
Who do you take? I take Sheldon Richardson.
I probably would have said that earlier in the year. If you trust that Anthony Barr is going to be what he has been the past 2 weeks, then I probably go Anthony Barr. I just don't know that I can trust that, though. The other thing is, I think it is maybe a little easier for the Vikings to find a 3-technique guy like Sheldon Richardson, either on the open market or in the draft to develop. And you could re-sign Tom Johnson, who was their starter last year, on the cheap for another year while you develop somebody that you draft early. Hopefully not the first round, because it would drive fans crazy if they go defense again in the first round. I don't know. I mean, the 3-technique position is so important to Zimmer's defense. But, Sheldon Richardson has gotten some pressure, but, he's probably going to be a 4 or 5 sack a year guy.
Yeah, I think it's just I think he can help collapse the pocket. He can help stop the run. I just think the whole defense is predicated on the front four really doing its job.
Well, and here's the other thing. Yeah, well, I agree with that. But the other thing to me is, okay, if you have to decide between those two, does Sheldon Richardson play like he has this year for future years? I mean, he's on a 1-year deal too, and he has bounced from the Jets to Seattle to here. So I don't know. I mean, that's really one of those where you have to see. I think you have to be inside the meeting rooms. You have to be inside practice every day to really get a good feel of which guy do you trust more to play up to how good they can be. And I don't know the answer
I've asked.
to
They're
that.
not going to let us in there.
No, no, they're not. So I'm not sure. I think it's a coin flip which one you really trust more. I do think that Zimmer would put more emphasis on the 3-technique, but he also loves to have his toys that he can move around.
Right.
And Anthony Barr can definitely move around a lot, and there's no question that he loves to be able to rush the passer. I mean, I've never seen him rush as good as he has in the past 2 weeks.
Oh, I agree. And that's the thing. They worked with him as defensive end in camp. They've been trying to get him to the point where he can beat a tackle. Because anybody can run through an open gap. They're trying to get him to the point where he can beat a tackle. And only in the last couple of weeks, I'm not even sure he's beaten tackles. He's kind of had good calls made for him. I don't think, if they don't feel like he can beat a tackle, then I don't think they keep him. If he gets to the point where he proves he can do that, then it becomes a much harder decision.
Well, and the thing, them working him as a defensive end in training camp, I don't really think that necessarily plays to his strength. I think he's good when.
No, I think that was just a teaching mechanism.
Yeah,
for them.
I agree. But they had showed at times. Occasionally we can mix up the personnel. But what I've really liked from him and from Mackenzie Alexander the past couple of weeks has been when they know it's their turn, where they're getting the call to blitz on that particular play. They are doing a great job of disguising and holding off and not just rushing to the line of scrimmage, allowing a quarterback or the offensive line to make a check to pick up the protection. So if they can continue to do that and be patient and then come once the snap has happened or just as it's happening, Anthony Barr could be a 8 to 10 sack guy in this league if that's the case and they keep sending him. But you also have to be in that position of the game where you can send a lot of blitzes. And it's always that gamble. How often do you send the blitz, and do you view Barr as a little bit of a liability in coverage? And Barr admits he's best when he's moving forward, not moving back trying to cover guys. So
As a young player, he I think it was whether it's Tevin Coleman or Devontae Foreman, Devontae Freeman. He covered some Falcons back way down the sideline, made a big play, helped him win in Atlanta. So maybe that was he was a little more young and spry at that point.
Well, and I think he's a guy that he takes a while to get the stride going. So if he has to make quick, sudden movements in short areas, probably not